We're going to work through this problem, find the odd int. I'll start by reading the instructions. Given an array of integers, find the one that appears an odd number of times. There will always be only one integer that appears an odd number of times. Examples given. An array with 7 should return 7 because it occurs once, which is odd. The array with 0 should return 0 because it occurs one time, which is odd. An array with 1, 1, 2 should return 2 because it's one time, it's odd, whereas the ones are twice and they're even. 0, 1, 0, 1, 0 should return 0 because it's shown 3 times. And the last array, which has many values, should return 4 because 4 appears one time, which is odd. Great, let's jump over to Replit and sketch out our cases. So the problem, it seems easy. We always will have an odd number, so we don't even have to worry about an empty array. If we have one number only, then we expect that number back. We don't have a case where we have two numbers because either the same number would be even or two different numbers would mean we have two numbers shown an odd number of times, so we don't have to worry about that. So let's sketch out our cases here like we always do. The first one would be handles an array with one value. And in that case, easy enough to see that an array with one value of 2 is going to return 2. An array with one value of 5 would return 5. We can leave that there. And we handles an array with more than 2 values. I don't think we need to differentiate when we get to 3 or greater. We are always going to have not at least, but only one integer that's odd. We would always have some number of other integers that show up an even number of times. So if we had an example like theirs, 1, 2, 2, we expect 1. Or how about 4, 5, 4, 5, 4? This means we show 4, since 4 shows up 3 times and 5 shows up 2 times. Then we can try 1, 1, 1, 2, 2. That is going to be 1. And let's try one more. How about 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. That's 5 ones, 2, 2, which we get 1. Okay, so that's all of our cases for this problem. It's a pretty straightforward problem. Let's talk about how we're going to handle it. I'm going to go back over here to sketch out some code. First thing, let's go ahead and delete all of these tests. They're following a slightly different convention here, but we're going to do what we always do, which is start with describe, follow up with it, set up our callback, test, dot assert equals, and in here we're going to have our function, which is find odd, passing in the value that we want to test. I think our first one is an array with just 2, and then showing our answer. And I will delete everything in here. Let's go ahead and run our test. Okay, expected 2, instead got undefined. What is the least code we can write to pass that? We can return 2. Go ahead and run that. Looking good. Let's copy our one test here, paste this. We'll do an array with 5, and we'll put in 5. We'll run that. Okay, expected 5, instead got 2. No surprise there. We want to return the first element showing up in the array for both of these cases. All right, we're looking good. Oh, I forgot to put my message in here. Let me go over to my cases, copy it, paste it in there. And I'm going to copy this whole block and we'll go to the next one. We need to replace our message with what we wrote here. Paste that in. And then, of course, delete this one. And I will write a test using the cases I've already pre-selected. Go ahead and do that. And we're expecting here not 2, but 1. So let's run the test. Okay, it happens to work. Sometimes this just works out, right? 1 is the odd number and it happens to be in the first place, so it works. This is why we always, of course, in this example, I think it's pretty trivial, but we always want to run more than one test so that we never fool ourselves into thinking we have an answer when we don't. Find odd 45454, comma 4, but I'm actually going to change this so we make sure that we fail this time, and we'll do 54454, and okay, now I'm not sure what's going on here. Assert equals find odd, it should be returning 5. Value is undefined. Oh, because I've got this foolish typo here. That is no good. Okay, now we have a proper array, and we should have this. Okay, yeah, still a typo right here, and there we go. Great, now we're failing. Of course, we're not actually handling this one as perfectly as we need to be, and this one we're definitely failing. So let's talk about a solution to this problem. So the most common solution would be set up a object to track frequency for every value in the array. Either add to object and set count to 1, or if exists, increment count by 1. Then once we are down here, we've got our object populated. So in case that's not clear, what that's going to look like for this example would be, say, a key of 5 showing up 2 times, and a key of 4 showing up 3 times. That's what our object would look like after we finished with this array here. Then what we could do is we could loop through our object, checking for a odd key and return the value. So in that case, we have 5, 2, where 2 is our key and 5 is our value. So our key is not odd here, but with 4 and 3, our key is odd, and therefore we would return 4. So we're going to follow that pattern, and here we go. Let's set up our object. We will do let count. Let's set it up as a frequency object, actually. This is just a name that I feel like is sufficiently descriptive. Now we will do a for loop. For let I equals 0, I is less than a dot length, I plus plus. Then I'm going to try and keep this organized. So these will go inside of here. This tracks to here. Let's start putting some comments on these. Okay, so if frequency object brackets AI, so that will either return undefined or it will show up as its value. If it is defined, then we want to take that same key and increment the value by 1. Otherwise, we want to do frequency object AI equals 1. And it looks like I reversed the order of these. So let me replace that. If it exists, increment the count by 1. That's what I did here. Otherwise, just don't like it when it gets unorganized like this. There we go. By 1. Okay. Now, loop through our object, checking for an odd key and return the value. When we loop through an object, we don't know what order we're going to go, but we can loop through an object just as we would loop through an array. So let's do for let, think of the syntax for a second, value of frequency object. And we would say if we need key here, sorry about that. If frequency object key divided by, or with a remainder, divided by 2 with a remainder of 1, meaning it's odd, return key. And now we've seen this kind of thing before in a problem where we're actually, if we've done our job correctly, we're never going to get here, but we're going to refactor a little bit when we're done. Let's try and see what mistakes I might have made. So it's saying frequency object is not iterable. I was thinking we can iterate through an object. Can I do it within? Yes, we can. Now we see that we're getting the right answer in all of these cases, which is good, except when we set something as a key, it is turned into a string. So in order to get the right answer here, we'll have to turn it back into a number. You can do that by just casting it to a number. And now we're passing our test. So you can go through an object using the in keyword, but not the of keyword. With an array, you can do both. All right, so I'm going to begin to get rid of our comments here. I'm also going to follow the same pattern we've talked about before, where we set up our variable that we want to return here. We're going to return it here at the end. And then instead of returning from this for loop, we're going to set our odd int equals this, and then we will break from this loop so we don't go any further than we have to. Start getting rid of the comments. And let's make sure we test that again. Okay, all of our tests are passing, so let's move on to the next one. Let me just copy this, paste that in, and I'm going right back to my cases. Paste that, and we can just eye it and see that 1 is the answer there. Go to this one. Test.assert equals find odd, paste the array, comma, the answer here is also 1. Okay, I think we have one more. Nope, that was it. Now, I don't think we have any other cases that we've not tested. It will only be bigger sets of numbers. The runtime here is, it has to go through the whole array one time, so that's n, and then through the whole object one time, and assuming that the last value we come to is the one we return. So our worst case there is also kind of like n, except for we know that our array is full of multiples. So this will actually be a little bit less than n, but we still call this runtime n. And we will go ahead and attempt that. Okay, great. We passed all of our tests. Looks good. And that is how you do it. Thanks so much.